So I'm starting off by moisturizing her face with the Embryolisse Let Cream, I think that's how you pronounce it, moisturizer. And I'm just using a dense Real Techniques brush. And now I'm adding the Becca Evermatte primer on her face, all over her face actually, because she has oily skin. And I'm using the same brush that I used before. With a flat shader brush, I'm applying MAC Fast Response Eye Cream under her eyes just to add some moisture under there. I think I might have gotten some of that primer under there. And now I'm using the MAC Correct and Conceal palette in the shade, I think medium deep, and I'm using that orange shade on the bottom just to correct the little bit of discoloration that she has around her lips. I'm using the Juvia's Place I Am Magic foundation. I mixed several shades to get the match for her. Now, as you can tell, it's a little lighter than her actual skin complexion. I don't know, in person it looked fine, but on camera it's looking a lot lighter than, you know, in comparison to her chest. But don't worry, I made it work. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can fix it if you are off with your actual foundation shade. I'm using a synthetic haired brush by Morphe. It's a round haired brush. It's very densely packed. It doesn't have a name on the brush, but I'm just honestly just dabbing it in. I know that it looks like I'm doing swiping motions back and forth, but it's because the way the clip is sped up, but I'm actually just pushing the product into her skin. And now I'm just going in with the Beauty Blender to take away any marks that might have been left with the brush. I'm using Black Opal foundation stick in the shades Kalahari Sand and Heavenly Honey, and I'm using a flat shader brush, and I'm applying that shade under her eyes, on the center of her forehead, down the center of her nose, and on the center of her chin. Now this is also the Black Opal foundation stick, but I'm using the shade Carob, and I'm just applying that on the hollows of her cheek, along her jawline, and as well as the hairline. I guess is that what it's called? The hairline, and also on the sides of her nose to help with her nose contour. Now this is how I'm able to fix, you know, kind of her foundation shade, the base not really matching her chest color. You can really play around with your highlight and contour shades to really bring the shade or your base shade to match completely. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but I didn't go too light with the highlight, and I went a little bit darker with the contour shade to help balance everything out. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm just using my Beauty Blender to help blend out everything. I'm using it for the highlight and the contour shade as well. Now my camera cut off while I was blending everything out, but and I noticed it after everything was already blended, but hopefully you guys can see how, you know, the not so light highlight and the little bit of darker contour kind of helped balance everything out, where we kind of have a more cohesive base instead of, you know, her face actually looking too light. And I'm just blending out the nose contour with a shader brush. And now I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent loose powder just to set her highlights. So I'm using it under her eye, on the center of her forehead, down the center of her nose, and as well as on her chin. Now to set the rest of her face, I'm using MAC Studio Fix foundation powder in the shade NC45, and I'm just lightly dusting it all around her face, blending it all together with the highlight and contour. And I'm using a different shade, NW50, to set her contour and kind of use it as a bronzer at the same time as well, just to really add some more warmth and dimension to her face. Now I'm using that same translucent powder by Laura Mercier with the Beauty Blender sponge to, as they would say, cut the cheekbone. I'm making her contour and cheekbones more prominent by highlighting underneath that area, so I'm just baking with that powder. And Jade has some really great brows, so there wasn't really much I needed to do with it. I'm just using my brow precision pencil by ColourPop in the shades, I think it's Bangin' Brunette and Black and Brown. So I finished her brows and I did her other eye off camera, just so I had an idea what I'm doing and I'm not wasting so much time on camera. But I'm using the Juvia's Place Warrior 2 palette. I'm going back and forth between the light orange and the dark terracotta color with a fluffy brush in her crease, back and forth, just making sure that it's nice and blown out and blended. Now with a denser fluffy brush, I'm using an oldie but a goodie. This is MAC Contrast Eyeshadow. It's a dark plum shadow, matte shadow, and I'm just applying it in that outer V of her eye, making sure that I blend it out into her crease as well. And also another oldie but goodie from MAC is Deep Truth. It's a dark blue shimmery color, and I'm applying it right next to that contrast, blending the two together. Now using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Self-Made palette, I'm using that rich purple that's all the way on the bottom, and I'm using a small flat shader brush, which is very dense, and I'm just applying that to the mobile lid. And now I'm going back and forth with all the different brushes and all the different shades that I use to make sure that they all blend in together, and that, you know, I'm not losing pigment as I'm doing the blending as well. So I did apply some sparkle on top of her lid. It's like a blue and purple iridescent sparkly shade, and of course my camera cut off and I don't have footage of that, but I don't recall the name of the actual shadow or the pigment that I used. The actual name wore off, it's rubbed off. And now on the bottom of her lids or her lower lash line, I'm applying the same colors in the same manner with just a flat, very, very flat detailed brush. Now I'm just brushing away the setting powder that I put under her eyes to catch any fallout. There wasn't really much fallout, thank God, but I'm just lightly dusting it off. Yeah, so now I'm using the Juvia's Place Saharan Blush Volume, and I'm using that the top row middle color, which is like a nice pink rosy color, and I'm just, yeah, lightly applying it to the apples of her cheek and blending it back into her cheekbones as well. Now I'm lining her lips with MAC Cork Lip Liner. I can't talk, y'all. This is the perfect shade for her complexion. It's a nice mid-tone brown just to add some dimension. I'm using a nude lipstick by MAC. This is Velvet Teddy, which is a very nice neutral pink color with a little bit of brown undertones in it. This is really one of my favorite nude shades by MAC, and I'm just lightly applying that, blending it into the lip liner as well. And sticking with the MAC theme we have going on, I'm using Extra Amps Dazzle Glass. This is your old school, very thick, glittery lip gloss. Just adding a light amount. So this is the final look. Very sultry, smoky, sexy. You're giving you all the purple vibes that you didn't know you needed. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please stay tuned for some more tutorials from me. All right, thanks.